many are the times that businesses have died for lack of intel, for lack of advice from experts. We would like to engage one of such experts. They are into finance and business management to tell us how exactly can businesses survive in various conditions such as COVID-19. We are joined by Pharrison Chiphinga Mwale, who is the managing consultant at Nest Business Consult. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
You're welcome.
In the first place, tell us, what is Nest Business Consult?
Nest Business Consult is a concept that has been born out of what we've gone through as a team, what we've experienced, where we started and where we are now. I, as the managing consultant, I've worked in the industry for close to 20 years. I joined the industry around 1991. I've learned, I've touched, I've experienced a lot of things hands-on. At the same time, because learning is split between two, you experience and you go into the formal learning. I have a fine blend of these two. Working in the industry, I've worked for some banks since 1991. I worked as a clerk somewhere from 1991 to 1996. I learned the basics, the nitty-gritties of being instructed, following instructions, and doing things right. After those 4 years or so, 6 years, I went into internal audit. Internal audit is like you're working like a mechanic. You're dealing with the policies. You're dealing with the internal controls. What should be done? What are the interests of the owners of the business? In fact, what are the interests of all stakeholders in business? So you tend to learn all the expectations of the stakeholders, and you are the person who is keeping in check the executive on all those frameworks.
Not necessarily witch hunting.
Not
Who
witch
to fire.
hunting. Not witch hunting. You want to balance the expectations of the stakeholders. First and foremost is this shareholder, the owner of the business, the person who's taken the risk. They need a return. Employees, they have an expectation. Salary increments, health, insurance, all those issues. If the executive are left unchecked, they will be dealing with their own interests. That's where the word conflict of interest comes about. The shareholders, the owners of the business, the directors, give the executive a blank check. We want you, say, to grow our business by 20%. That's a blank check. They can work hard and meet that, exceed that. When they exceed, they make a lot of profits. How do they appropriate their profits? They would buy jets. They would send their children to whatever expensive schools. They can forget the interests of the other stakeholders. Now, to put that in check, you look at the controls and see that what the policies are whispering into the business is what the executive is doing. So I worked as an internal auditor for about 3 years. Then I worked as a quality assurance officer for some 3 to 4 years. I worked as a credit analyst, looking at the expectations of businesses. Because when you're working as a credit analyst, you're looking at the requirements of their borrowers. So you need to understand their businesses first before you can, because you are a go-between, between the bank and the borrower.
Okay.
So you understand the expectation of the borrower, translate them, and make them understand that go to the people who will be approving the facilities. So at that point, I learned a lot about businesses, how they operate in all aspects, management, financial, everything, all dimensions. I could advise the borrowers to say, go back and enhance your application on this side. All those were happening. Then I moved into training. I headed a training department somewhere for about 4 years. So training also, that's a side of policy. You are interpreting policy. The top most management have come up with this policy, translating the objectives of the organization, translating the strategy of the organization. How do we put it on the ground to meet the nitty-gritties on the ground? How do we interpret it to that person on the ground? So as a trainer, you would package all the messages for the most junior person, for the middle person, as well as the executive. So I got involved in training all people across the hierarchy, starting from the executive to the lowest person. We've done performance management, we've done supervisor skills, we've done needs assessment, we've done all the generic and non-generic trainings were conducted at that level.
Okay, so you've mentioned a number of aspects that you are experienced in. Is there a particular focus in this business, or you are going into all these aspects?
Having learned all this, of course there will be some core packages. But having looked at all of this, we feel we can give back to our industry because we understand better from the strategic management point of a business, what drives the business functions, what do they contribute to the overall strategy. So this thing, if you understand it better, you can advise on all aspects, but just not to try to be a jack of all trades or concentrate on some areas. Yeah, we can advise on the job. Sit down with management, they have a dilemma. This maybe profits are going this way. Can you diagnose for us what is happening? We can do that. We do that. We do a need assessment. Out of a need assessment comes a lot of interventions. Training is one of them. So we will concentrate much on training and maybe do a little of others. But we are into training because that's where we feel we have a core competence. We can do better in the competition, in the competitive market. We can package our things better because like in customer service, we do target hospitality industry, we have a package for them. We don't mix up. We have customized solutions for each industry. So we want to concentrate on that and give back to society because like I'm saying now, I'm a lecturer. Now you can see from what all I've explained, now I'm in class. I'm now giving back to students, shaping students to say, you expect this when you go to industry. So based on that, the industry experience and the academic experience, we feel we have something unique which we can take back to the industry.
Auditing. You touched on your experience as an auditor.
Yes.
And I believe that's one of the services that you're offering at Nest Business Consultant. With COVID-19, we've seen a lot of companies opting to lay off people, fire people.
Yes.
Business is slow, they're not making money, and the result is some being sent home. What is the best way forward with the pandemic that we have, and why should your potential clients opt for your assistance when the only solution that they see is to lay off people?
In a nutshell, businesses operate in a very turbulent environment, and the environment has so many elements. One of them is what you're talking about, to say there's a pandemic, but that's just one element. So the solution is not just to look at one isolated dimension of the business. We got what is informed by what we call PESTEL. That's the environment we need to assess all the time. We assess the environment and do our own SWOT analysis. It involves a lot. It involves expertise. It's not just staff that eat on profits. It's not only staff that can derail progress of a business. We need to have an all-encompassing examination where we are, what's the impact of COVID, where can we streamline, not staff. There are so many aspects we can do. Because at the end of the day, even if we lay off staff, what about the full capacity of our production? You understand? At the end of the day, we'll have those machines that would need to produce 50,000 units. We lay the staff, we won't be able to do that. We lay the staff, by the time the economy recovers, the pandemic goes, they will have been taken by others. We'll struggle to replace. Staff is one of the elements of capital that we need to share. We train staff, we build them. Retrenching is not a solution. We can restructure, redeploy, and see other areas where we can streamline, but still maintain our staff. So much so that when we move out of this rough patch, we have at least everything else. We want sell our machines. Maybe they won't be applicable in any other industry. They are specific to our industry. So we need to take into account to say, if we are laying staff, are we not just treating part of the problem? But if we analyze the whole thing, like we do always, because there's no time where we stop analyzing our environment, the pestle issue, the SWOT analysis. Well, that's a continuous thing if we don't have to go out of business. So the same thing with COVID. Let's treat it as any challenge that we meet on the market. And don't rush to blame a staff cost. Yeah.
You've touched on linking SMEs to banks. And one of the challenges that SMEs mention is lack of access to finance. How do you describe the situation as at now in regard SMEs accessing finance from banks?
Yes, I think the main problem with this sector is not that they lack finance. They may have finance adequately, but how they manage the whole aspects of the business. You may agree with me that a business involves a lot of other things other than money. Management. You look at qualifications of the people who run the businesses, succession plans, kind of the management age spread, all those issues. You look at how they understand the market. Who are the suppliers? Who are the customers? Who is powerful between them and their suppliers? Who is powerful between them and their customers? Apart from finance, you look at the technological advancement. We're advancing, but the SMEs are not. They're still using the crude ways of doing business. Now, if we are to move out of this trap, there has to be counsel. They need to have counsel. Counsel, like you've touched, how do they approach banks? Banks look at a collection of things put together. They don't just look at one aspect. How do these things talk to one another? You need somebody who is knowledgeable before you go to the bank manager. The bank manager is there to perform. How many loans have you rejected, approved? How many remain health? That's the best job of the bank manager. In between, there has to be somebody who can interpret to say, no, enhance on this one. Enhance on the financial, your sources, and how you can repay your loans. Enhance on you as a manager. What's your capability in this area? Enhance on your markets. Where are you taking? You can produce if you don't have a market. That's in vain. So we come in to balance these aspects, to appeal to the person who is approving the application. Yeah. So we come handy to interpret. They have data. We put that data together and make it information so that the bank can read and understand it to say this is a safe lending.
Be that as it may, there is a school of thought that banks are deliberately making it tough for this sector or the business sector to borrow because they have a borrower in the name of government. What's your take on that?
No. What I can tell you is the capability I was talking about, the skills that the people in the field have. You may agree with me that this is the field where people, when they make excessive profits, they get too excited. They go on unnecessary holidays. They go into unnecessary extramarital affairs. They go into that merrymaking just because they don't understand the whole aspect, the whole circle of this business. So eventually they end up going out of business. But not that the business was not profitable, not that the banks didn't trust them in the first place. As time goes, the banks have come up with a whole picture about the SMEs to say this is a risk area, and it is indeed a risk area. Unless something is done, an intervention is taken, like from people who are knowledgeable, and we come up with solutions. This problem is there, and we will not blame banks that they are kind of segregating this sector. No, this sector is risky. It's risky because all these dimensions don't come to balance. They may have a good market, a good product, but the owner doesn't have the discipline. We may have a very good owner, financially enabled, independent. Maybe he doesn't need banks, he's got everything else. But the concept to go to take to the, because we are all solving a challenge in society. So even if you have money, a lot of resources, if you don't identify which space you want to identify a challenge and help, you can't make business. So innovation is about you being able to see a space somewhere where there is no solution to a challenge that is existing. That's what it means.
Another aspect that you're looking at as Nest Business Consult is training.
Yes.
How important is training for managers or indeed employees in a company?
Okay, like I've told you, business environment is turbulent. Every day, every minute, something is changing, either in the technological field, political, economical, social, fashion tastes are changing. Okay? Now, you may have very knowledgeable, capable people today. 6 months down the line, their skills will not be relevant anymore, or they'll be partly relevant. So training is just about taking cognizance of what is happening in the environment and giving refreshers to the employees. They are busy. They are on their duty. They are working every day, going to work and back. They don't have that space to speculate and look at this and that. There's somebody who just sits and looks at the environment and comes up with things that are changing fast and advises the business to say, do you know this aspect of the business that is changing? Can we train your staff, prepare them for this? I can give an example of the hospitality industry. They're in competition, but collaboration, like now, is the best solution. Room occupancy, some are full, some are not.
Yeah.
If they are in collaboration, they talk to one another. They can transfer clients on a gentlemanly agreement. So you find that the room occupancy will not be as negative as it is sometimes, because people are sharing something. Competition is not just about cutthroat. Sometimes you collaborate. The car hire and the hospital, the hotels, they need to talk to one another. If they don't talk, business won't be there. So there are those aspects that are being brought to the industry to say, no, this one, yes, is a competitor, but there are times when you need one another. Okay? This one is not in your line of business. You may not think he's in your line of business, but this car hire business is part of your business. You collaborate, both of you benefit. You understand? So, yes, business is changing. Training is part of the solution. When we do performance management, performance appraisals, you identify gaps, both in the organization and in the staff. Interventions will be counseling, maybe, because sometimes people don't perform, not that they don't have the skill, but because there are some other conditions that they don't feel happy with. They switch off the propellers. Some, they don't perform because they don't have the skill. Those that don't have the skill, you train them. Those that are not performing because they are disappointed in a way or another, you find a solution to say, how can we motivate them and get maximum performance? Yes.
Wonderful. How long have you been in business as Nest Business Concert, and who is behind Nest Business?
Okay, let me say this. I've been a consultant ever since I joined the industry, though in the context of an internal consultant.
Okay.
You understand? Because consultancy also has two dimensions. You can be an internal consultant or external consultant. Now, because I've been in the industry, now that's where I've been gathering knowledge. Right now, we are going fresh onto the consultancy market as external consultants.
Okay.
So we'll be announcing the steps we're taking to at least have a foothold in this, which is not doubtful, because we have what it takes. One of the things is, because we're new, it's competitive out there.
Yes.
We know we are confident about ourselves and our capabilities. So our prospective clients will offer them a window of piloting our packages. First client will train their top management, one package, maybe a minimum of 3 days, free of charge. A few. Then, if they're convinced, then we'll roll the whole thing into the organization. That's the strategy we want to take. We don't want to impose ourselves on anybody. Yeah.
Who is behind Nest Business Concert?
Nest Business is behind Pharrison, Chiphinga, Mwale, and the wife.
Okay. The wife is into this.
The wife is also an internal consultant.
Okay.
We are planning to slowly move into the external consultants.
Okay.
I'll go first, and I have my daughter, who has a first degree, is an SCCA affiliate. She has registered for SCCA. She's doing a voluntary work in accounting packages.
Okay.
Of which she can be trusted with that kind of the sage things, everything else in that area she can do. Then we have 3-4 other collaborations.
Okay.
We have somebody in supply chain management. Yes, but the others we are yet to confirm our collaboration. But we expect to go, I think by June, we'll have one foot into the field. So much so that by a stated time, because currently I'm engaged with Magu, so I have to exit amicably.
Yes.
Yeah, but you have to plan. You don't exit at the point when you want to start something.
Exactly.
You have to plan. I have to be one foot in this when I have free time, not stealing from my employer. No, in fact, it's part of my performance standards to be in consultancy on the platform of the employer. So that's the strategy.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Mr. Pharrison Chiphinga.
I appreciate.
Thank you very much. Yes, Concert. They are looking into a number of scopes that can help you move forward with your business, even in delicate times like the COVID-19 pandemic that we're moving in.